Lights out.
Welcome, everyone, once again to another episode of Sleep Tech Talk of the East Sleep Podcast with your hosts and friends, Emerson, Kerr, Robert Miller, and me, Dr. Gerald George Mannikarote. Folks, we have an exciting episode as always, but just want to let you all know that we thank you so much for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for listening to the show and making it the success that it is. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for all the likes, all the subscriptions, especially all the shares. And don't forget, there is a comment section here. And if you have any questions, any thoughts, please sure to drop it down in the comments. At the same time, we also want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors who helped us on this journey and keep us going even now. So thank you so much to the sponsors, folks. Please, as you're listening, be sure to check them out. With that being said, Robert, what's going on today?
Now a word from our sponsor, Medbridge Healthcare. Medbridge Healthcare is a leading provider of sleep lab management services and home sleep apnea testing. Medbridge partners with hospitals, healthcare systems, and medical academic institutions to offer comprehensive, fully integrated services for sleep disorders. Sleep Tech Talk is brought to you by Fisher & Paykel. Fisher & Paykel Healthcare is a leader in CPAP mask design and innovation for over 20 years. Their unique technologies have benefited millions of OSA patients through their top CPAP masks. These advancements continue to further enhance patient experience and outcomes.
Hey, thanks, Jerry. We have Dr. Daniel Rifkin with us today with Ognomy, the sleep telehealth provider. And we're excited to have him with us today. Dr. Rifkin, thanks for joining us. It's absolutely wonderful to have you here with us. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into the world of sleep medicine and what maybe gave you the idea around developing an online sleep telehealth practice?
Sure. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for the invitation. And you have a great podcast. Really enjoy it when I listen to it. So kudos to you all. Well, I know we only have 20 minutes for the podcast, and I'm not sure I could fit in my entire journey in 20 minutes, but I'll try to give you the shortened version. Basically, I'm a sleep medicine physician. I've been practicing sleep medicine for over 25 years. And it all started during my residency. I'm a neurologist by training, and way back when I was in residency, sleep wasn't really on the radar screen. We didn't have, even in medical school, too many lectures on sleep. We didn't learn about sleep medicine, but I had one attending who was my, they call him the affirm attending. When we would do our outpatient visit, we basically would see a patient, then call the attending in, and the attending would ask about sleep. And as neurologists, we would see headaches, sleepiness, pain syndromes, nondescript dizziness, all kinds of problems. And to have a doctor ask about sleep, I'd say, why are you asking about sleep? And he would uncover sleep apnea, insomnia, other problems that were just really neat to see. And in neurology, as you know, we deal with a lot of neurodegenerative problems where patients don't necessarily get better. We kind of treat patients we're more healers, I guess you'd call us, where we help them with their journey. But when you treat someone with a sleep problem and you fix their sleep problem, they're super grateful. So he was really the only attending that was getting baskets of apples. You can tell I'm from the Northeast, for thank you gifts and different things like that, because wives would come in saying, I have my husband back, thank you, he's a better father, he's a better husband, and all these really neat stories that I could tell you. Again, we don't have the time, but it piqued my interest. And so there was a gentleman by the name of Edwin Manning who ran a sleep center here in the Buffalo area. I was in Rochester at the time, and I was able to do a month-long internship with him. And from there, it all began. And I went on to do a fellowship at the University of Michigan under Mike Aldrich and Ron Chervin. And from there, came back to Buffalo, and I've been here ever since. I had a really large sleep practice, a bunch of labs. And it was during that time that I was kind of doing the lab thing, seeing tons of patients, really loving what I do. I'm still super passionate about sleep. I love to treat sleep patients, and I still treat them even in my current job. But I I kind of got a little older. My kids stopped wanting to play with me after dinner, so I was looking for something to do. And so I decided to go back to school for a master's of public health. And it was really during that time that I recognized what I was doing, treating individual patients in a local area, was really neat and fun. But when you start studying the ramifications of untreated obstructive sleep apnea from a population health perspective, I mean, it's astounding. And I recognize that, man, I cannot tackle this disease. I mean, people have to live close to sleep doctors or close to sleep centers. So, I don't know if any of you have ever done any kind of graduate work, but typically you'll bring your own expertise into projects and different things like that. So I really started to think about it. And what I learned during this training is that although patients or people may not even have running water in their home or sanitation in their home, they have a smartphone. And so we started to think about how can we find patients with sleep apnea, or how can patients with sleep apnea find us through a smartphone? And that's basically what led to the birth of Ognomy, the telehealth space. So
That's awesome. We certainly know that access to care is probably because of the demand today from a sleep health perspective. You were ahead of the curve just a little bit though. I think in developing an online telehealth platform, and especially I guess it would have been a little more simple to try to do it on a regional level, but you had this vision of a national sleep telehealth service. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, and even more nationally, we're really interested in going international. I mean, we want to be able to provide that access to care for people that don't have it. And I know, especially in developing nations, where untreated obstructive sleep apnea will have just a huge impact on health systems, even if left untreated, because of the communicable diseases the non-communicable diseases that will come from that untreated sleep apnea, like diabetes, heart disease, stroke, all those problems there. So we want to go worldwide. That's our goal, and hopefully we'll get there. But for now, we started off regional in New York State, and now we're moving towards the whole country. We're in 50 states now, and hopefully we'll go international sometime next year.
Sleep Tech Talk is sponsored by React Health. Within our LunaPAP device line, each offering is FDA approved, encompassing CPAP, APAP, bilevel, and bilevel ST models. Our thoughtfully selected array of PAP interfaces and accessories complement our LunaPAP device line while accommodating diverse patient requirements.
Doctor, you, as Robert said, you were very pioneering in this in a lot of ways, and the explosion of your company has been fantastic. What were some of the learnings or maybe surprises along the way that really shaped Ognomy into what it is today?
No, that's a great question, Emerson. The surprise for me, and we've changed our model a little bit as we've developed, right? So at first, I thought, okay, I want to open up access to telehealth care for all sleep doctors. So we actually built a platform from the ground up that really takes into account all the workflows, all the pathways, all the pain points that people would experience in a telehealth space. And we tried to offer it to sleep medicine physicians. Actually, that was our first sort of model that we tried to put together. And it was great. And I thought, wow, this is terrific. People are really going to love this. Sleep doctors are really going to love this because I love it. And I'm a sleep doctor. So, lesson number one, know your audience and know your product, and talk to your potential customers before you build the product, right? So it turns out that although physicians love the product, to switch from the current product they're on and to try to go through that whole pain of changing to a different EMR, the sales cycle was too long. And we signed our first strategic partnership that said, okay, that's great. And you have these really neat ideas, but you need to grow a lot faster than you're growing to meet our capacity. And so that's what kind of shifted us from selling our product. But there are still about 4 or 5 practices that use Ognomy, but then we started to build out our own physician base and provider base so that we could meet the capacity. So that was the first learning, and something for anyone with a startup. Really do a little research ahead of time with the market you're going after before you build it. Yeah.
So, the very first question I probably should have asked you is, what does Ognomy mean? Can you give us the meaning behind the name?
That's another great question, and everyone asks that, and because everyone hates the name because they can't really pronounce it. Is it Ognomy? Is it Ognomy? Is it Ognomy? So I can already think of my first commercial. It's going to be some say Ognomy, you say Ognomy, like one of those kinds of things. But yeah, it's a crazy name, but it comes from the word physiognomy, which is the Greek term for diagnosis based on facial feature and expression. So it's a little bit of a play on the telemedicine space.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
And
really cool.
it is
I,
cool.
I just wanted to make a comment. It was interesting to hear the previous bit of conversation, Doc, when you started talking about the product development and rollout. You did not sound like an MD nor an MPH. You sounded like an MBA. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And that's the other hysterical part about all this, because I am truly a doctor. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a business background. I mean, before I started building Ognomy and building software and working in software development, I could download an app. That's about how much, computers, the kind of computer skills that I had. But talking with people and reading as much as I could and getting advice just kind of led me to where I am to understand these types of things. So for anyone out there that's interested in pursuing anything that you're not an expert in per se, there are so many people in the startup space and the whole ecosystem that just want to help you. You just need to reach out and ask, and they're incredibly generous with their wisdom.
Curious why millions choose F&P full face masks? They are designed to consistently deliver performance, stability, comfort, and minimalism. To learn more, visit fpcare.com/curiosity. Are you a sleep tech looking for new opportunities? Well, Medbridge Healthcare is one of the largest employers of sleep technologists, and they are growing. If you are a sleep technologist interested in a new position, potential paid relocation, or looking for a career advancement, consider a career with Medbridge Healthcare. Now back to the show.
You shared that, when you were first in practice, some of the life-changing moments that you saw with, wives happy about their husbands. When you look at Ognomy now and what it's grown to, what sort of story stands out to you that, really continues to keep that fire burning within you, that it reminds you of why you're doing what you're doing?
I could probably give you one every week. That's what's so neat about this, because when I first started seeing patients through telehealth, I always thought it was about access to care, living close to a particular sleep medicine physician. I mean, I'm in Western New York and it can get pretty rural, so people have to drive 1 hour, 2 hours to get to a larger city that might have a sleep center or something like that. But then I started to see patients with more social determinant issues. Like I saw a single mom with 3 kids that worked a job and just couldn't get out of work and spend that 30 minutes to drive in to see me. Just hearing those kind of stories where it's not just proximity or geographics, it's also the social determinants where people might not have that kind of access to cars and different things like that. So that those kinds of things stand out. But it's it's opening up that access, and then people having that change of life experience. And every sleep person on that, I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast even has a story about a life-changing patient, a patient that had a life-changing moment. We have a really neat video right on our website that's, you can call it a testimonial, but it was a patient that just couldn't say enough about how his life had changed, and we're like, we need to capture this somehow. And so if you want to hear the one story that still resonates with all of us at Ognomy, it's there on video.
That's great. Dr. Rifkin, I know that one of the challenges, it seems like for new entrants into the sleep telehealth space, the easy button is a cash model. But you have been committed to being able to utilize or allowing a patient to utilize their insurance. Can you give us just a little quick, some insight as to what that has looked like for you? Because I know it's probably still a challenge even today.
Yeah, well, it's really daunting to kind of set up these entities that can take insurance throughout the country. But again, there are experts out there that can help you. I can help you. It's really one of those things where you can do it, But then once you dip your feet into that little water there, you can drown pretty quickly. So you're always getting new contracts, you're always talking with payers, you're always trying to get your providers credentialed in all these different places. But again, it's about that access to care. People want to use their insurance to get their health care. Not everyone can afford self-pay, especially the costs of sleep care, not only the sleep testing and diagnostics, but also the therapy. There are definitely people that can. There are wonderful concierge sleep practices out there that really give the same kind of care that we do, but we give it to everyone, whether you can afford it personally or need your insurance to pay for it. But we again, it's all about, our mission is about opening up the access to care, and we know insurance is going to play a big role in that. So that's why we put a lot of eggs in that basket.
Doc, being a sleep specialist and a neurologist, is there any specific area within the sleep medicine space that you like to focus on?
Well, in Ognomy, we're truly a sleep apnea vertical because it's sort of the easiest, I would say, sleep telehealth disorder where, REM sleep behavior disorder or narcolepsy, a good neurological exam is important. If we see someone in Ognomy that has something like that, we'll work with a brick and mortar partner, to try to make sure they get either PSG or in-person neurology examination. But we work with sleep apnea because that's the big disease that affects 1 billion people in the world, and we want to try to tackle that. But because we're all trained in sleep, we see all the sleep disorders that we can deal with. So we can deal with insomnia. We see a lot of patients with insomnia and do some CBTI. We work with other CBTI companies, where we can refer out that are virtual first. We can deal with the parasomnia as much of the time, unless it's REM sleep behavior disorder. We can deal with some of the circadian dysrhythmias, things that don't require in-person evaluation. And that's, someone that's a sleep medicine physician that's been practicing for a really long time. I miss seeing the narcolepsy patients, and I miss seeing some of these really interesting RBD patients or other neurologically based sleep disorders. But it's funny, I still see them. They present thinking they have sleep apnea, or they present thinking that something else, and I like, it's really this, and we need to have you see this guy. So I don't miss it enough to go back, but those are all really interesting diseases to continue to work with.
One of the things that we talk about a lot on here is how technology is changing sleep. It's changing everything. But when you think of sleep, and in particular, whether it's the diagnosis or the therapy or the new pharmaceuticals, we talked about it on our latest show, that they were super present, as you saw at Sleep 2025. How do you see Ognomy changing and evolving with these advancements in technology and medicine around sleep apnea?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of evidence-based medicine, right? So I never like to see the technology get ahead of the science. So I truly rely on a lot of my colleagues and my academic colleagues in the sleep medicine space to drive how we care for patients. So when we built Ognomy, we thought about bringing that evidence-based brick and mortar care into the virtual space. So we're not, although we use AI, it's more for workflow things and stuff, but the actual patient-physician interaction, it's still very old school. Patients are still seeing a provider. We're still discussing disorders. We're still talking about evidence-based care and evidence-based therapies and following patients through that journey. So although technology is going to help facilitate that type of care right now, the evidence-based AI therapies and different things, or I should say, waiting for the evidence to start incorporating AI into that actual patient interaction and different things like that, we're going to have to wait and see. But I'll always let science reign. I'm still a huge believer in science. So
Dr. Rifkin, before Jerry starts to cut us off, which I feel like it's happening just about any time now, Ognomy has had the opportunity to partner with some really large players in the sleep medicine space. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And again, it's because of just the kind of quality of care that we provide and the full soup to nuts journey that we offer patients. We work with a lot of large partners in the sleep medicine space. I should also give the caveat that we have no financial relationship with them in terms of our doctors getting paid or incentivized to give any kind of therapy. We're agnostic to the therapy. So whether a patient comes from BreastMed or Inspire or Lilly or anyone else, it really doesn't matter. What's best for the patient is what we'll do. And we've had other partners that weren't so thrilled with that idea. And we have to make sure that our partners are mission aligned, where they want what's best for the patient, and because it's what we want, what's best for the patient as the provider in Ognomy. So that shared decision making is what drives the care. So the partnerships that we've been able to develop really fall into the just, again, opening up access, opening up that top of funnel, and just kind of getting more patients diagnosed with sleep apnea, bringing that awareness to the table, because still 80% of patients remain undiagnosed. So it's great for everybody. Just based on those numbers, just getting more people into that sleep apnea journey.
Doc, we're really, really close to time, just like Robert had mentioned earlier. But before we close, is there anything else that you'd like to mention before we close? And where can people find you, more information about you and about Ognomy Sleep?
Sure. You can always reach out to me. Just look me up in LinkedIn. I'll absolutely connect with you. But you can go to ognomy.com, and that's just our general website that'll give you some information about Ognomy. And we like to partner with physicians. We like to partner with brick and mortar sleep centers because we send a lot of patients for PSG in their area where they live. So yeah, we would love to hear from you and to learn more about what you're building. And I will say the last thing I want to say is just, if you're in the telehealth space or if you're in just the innovation in sleep medicine space, look me up and give me a shout. I would love to just sit down and spend a little time and hear about what you're building, offer any kind of advice I can give, because I was given so much advice to get us to where we are, and I just want to pay it back. So that's how I'll end that.
Oh, that's really fantastic to hear. Thank you so much, Doc. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Most definitely. And folks out there, thank you so much for joining us once again on this episode. Huge shout out to each and every one of you. We couldn't do this without you. We want to say thanks for all the likes, all the shares, all the subscriptions. Please continue to do that. And to our sponsors, a huge shout out to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for allowing us to continue to grow. And until next time, we say lights
Be sure
on.
to check out our clinical sponsor, Sleep Review Magazine. More details in show notes.